Why should I eat more cheesecake?
You should always eat more cheesecake.
Okay, great.
Because it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Sorry, that got me so much. What was the first part of the question?
The Take Care Men podcast is intended for educational purposes and not intended to be personal medical, therapeutic, or counseling advice from us or any guest to you. Watching or listening to the podcast or getting answers to questions does not establish a therapist-patient relationship and is not suitable for advice, diagnosis, or treatment regarding medical or mental health conditions. Perhaps these videos or podcast episodes can help you prepare for your discussion with your doctor or therapist. If you are in need of immediate help, please consult our resources at takecareman.com/help. Thank you and enjoy the podcast.
Right. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to another episode of the Take Care Men Mental Health Podcast. It's been a while. We always say this, don't we, Todd? We're not as consistent as we'd like to be, but I think we're a few weeks out from the last episode we did with Greg Tardif, but we're back, and that's the main thing. Just first off, I want to take the opportunity to dedicate this episode of the podcast to somebody who's quite, should we say, special in the or well thought of in the wet shaving community, and that's Frank Strömberg, who unfortunately passed away. I don't know whether it was today or recently this week, but yeah, Frank was sort of well known and liked member of the wet shaving community, and particularly those that use straight razors. Dave Card, who some of you might know from YouTube, he was quite close to him, and I'll just read out these words that Dave sort of had a conversation with me on Facebook around Frank. So he said, he was an awesome fellow. He said it as he saw it, and he always gave his honest opinion. Blushes and egos weren't spared. I'm going to miss his wisdom and his friendship. For me, he's one of the most technically brilliant straight shavers I've ever seen. His beard had a very awkward growth pattern, and he did things in his own shaves others wouldn't and couldn't do because he didn't want to compromise on the outcome. So yeah, Frank will be sorely missed by a lot of people, not just Dave. And our thoughts go out to Frank's friends and families at this difficult time. So yeah, this episode's dedicated to Frank. Right now, onto our guest this week. I say this week. I'd like to say this week. It's never this week. this on this episode, on this 13th episode of the Take Care Men podcast. It's Brandon Hay. Some of you may know him as Brandon Shaves on YouTube or Brandon Shaves on Instagram. He also frequently helps out with Mel and Nate with their BBS Live on Instagram and their own corking and hot food challenge lives. Brandon, how's it going?
Going great. It's a nice, beautiful Sunday. Super hot. We have air conditioning, thank goodness. Otherwise, I'd be sweating through this whole thing.
Yeah, it's nice of you to rub it in for me here in the UK. There's not many houses have AC, but I think it's probably going to come the norm fairly soon. We did manage to get over 104 degrees Fahrenheit the other week. That was horrendous. You know, I mean, it's just with no AC. It's a different kind of heat. I think I always mention it when we talk about it in the UK. In the UK, it's quite, I don't know, muggy and humid. So yeah, it's not nice, but yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on, Brandon. I've been looking forward to this episode.
Pleasure to be here.
So how's your weekend been so far? What have you been up to? Anything good? Or
that's busy. I mean, I got 2 young kids. I have a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old boy, so you know they keep us running, doing stuff all the time. But today we have a little pool outside. So that's what today is, trying to stay cool.
Nice. Yeah, I hear you. I've got three young kids myself, and it was my daughter's 8th birthday yesterday. So we spent the day celebrating, and we went to a wildlife park, and then went to like a girl power concert on the evening. So that was it's been a busy weekend, but yeah, nice. Like you say, it keeps you on your toes.
No rest for the wicked.
Yeah, too right. Todd, how are you? How's your weekend been?
Good, pretty good so far. It's a busy time around my house. August is always busy because my wife's a school teacher, so it's spend a lot of time up in her classroom getting it ready and ramping things up. And those first 3 weeks of school, but thankfully I'm the child of a school teacher, and so I was trained very early growing up what August and September are like. So I tread very lightly on everything for 2 months because I know how hard it is for her. Like it's tough. She just comes home exhausted at the end of every day. But so yeah, thinking a lot about all the school teachers out there that are heading back to work. And I know it's gotten where it's different around the country and around the world. Some people are in school during the summer and some people are not. But at least here in our area, it's ramping back up, getting started back up. So
That's
so,
funny.
yeah.
My wife is a teacher, and my mother was a teacher as well. So
That's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife, she's a play worker in a school, and we have like 6 weeks off during the summer. So I think it was a couple of weeks ago they broke up. So it's nice to have that break. But then as a teacher and somebody involved in school, I think it's probably quite difficult going back to work and getting yourself back in that frame of mind. But yeah, I don't envy teachers at all. So yeah, I tip my my hat to the teachers out there.
I mean, as tough as my kids are, I think my wife is really ready to go back to school.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The first week, they're always really excited. And then after about 2 weeks, they're ready to go back to school. Off you go.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I'm glad everybody's is doing well. We'll take a few minutes just to do a little bit of podcast admin. We'll talk about the giveaways. So Pod? No, you're not Pod. You are Todd.
That's me.
Todd,
That's me.
Todd and Pod. Yeah, Todd is going to announce the winners of the giveaway over on Instagram. So yeah, keep your eyes out for the Razor Company Crown and Cane $20 gift cards. The UK and the rest of the world. I am going to give a little bit of an update on Apocalypse Grooming. So yeah, we're struggling a little bit in the world of Apocalypse Grooming with the cost of living. I think everybody's feeling the pinch a little bit. So yeah, we're struggling a little bit with cash flow. So I'm not going to do the Apocalypse Grooming giveaway, but I am still going to do the HC&C products that we were sent to give away. So I've got that. I'm going to do it live on air. There were 3 entrants. All from there was 2 from YouTube and 1 who got in touch via Instagram. So there's JMW, who's from Australia, Actor, who strangely has a UK and a US address, but we'll put him in the hat for the UK giveaway. And Lee Hasley, I don't actually know how he's pronounced Lee's name, but Lee's a long-term, he's listened to the pod since the start. So Hasley, I think that is. So Lee, apologies if I've got that wrong. But there's the 3. You probably can't even see that. Look, that's well, I can assure you there is I've got the 3 names loaded up into a random name picker. We'll give this a whirl, and maybe you'll be able to hear it. I don't know. So here we go. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Oh, cool. Well, so at least you know it's spinning. Who's won? Oh, it's Lee. It is Lee. I tell you what, I'll take a screenshot and we'll upload it at some point. So yeah, congratulations.
And I tell you what I'm going to do, Andy. Even though that's an international winner, okay, I've got some HC&C stuff. I'm going to mail out Lee's because it's going to Thailand, and the reason I'm doing that is because he won a set off of my channel on YouTube, and I couldn't find the balm. I completely lost it. Well, I found it the other day. So I found the balm. So I owe him a balm. So I'll ship out the HC&C stuff and the balm out to Lee to Thailand, nice. And I'll take that hit on the shipping. You have to sign over your firstborn to even get anything over there. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap. But yeah, congratulations, Lee. Thanks to the other guys that entered. Again, we'll do the UK and rest of the world giveaway. So all you have to do is comment "I'm in" either on Instagram, YouTube, anywhere that you see our podcast or the episode pop up, or this episode with Brandon. Just comment "I'm in," and you'll be entered into the giveaway. And the same rules apply for the US and Canada that Todd will do. For what little stock I do have left at Apocalypse Screaming, you can save 15% off. Just use the code TakeCareMen at the checkout, and you can save some pennies there. Todd, do you want to give us a little reminder of the Discord server and the different things going on there?
Yeah, so we have the Discord server where you can come over and chat and hang out with folks that are a member of that Discord server. It's the link to it is on the takecareman.com website. If you just go up and click on group, it'll take you to the Discord server. And we have a lot of people that are joining there, and a lot of active discussions going on there. So check that out. We also have merch for the first time. We have a t-shirt. We need to, right now it's just a CONUS only because that's where the store's set up, but eventually we hope to get that set up where it's international as well. But I'll put a picture of that shirt in the edit for the video version of the podcast. Regardless, you can go over to takecareman.com, click on store, and see all the shirts we have. Also have a couple of men's mental health t-shirts, related t-shirts that are there as well, and one with the podcast logo on it as well. And as always, we appreciate your donations to help support the podcast, and you can go to takecareman.com and click on donate. And we appreciate our Patreon sponsors. And just a shout out real quick to BBS Live, HD Crossbones, Ben, and then my friend Dave Kais as well, who have all are Patreon members and are contributing to this podcast. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. We appreciate it. Before we get into the nitty gritty of the podcast, Todd, was there something you wanted to ask me?
Yeah. So Andy, I wake up on a Sunday morning. Sunday morning is usually pretty leisurely, and I wake up and I'm scrolling through my social media, and first of all, I see this odd video of like what looks like the inside of what we'd call a porta toilet or a porta john here in the U.S. And it's from you, and apparently there's a lady near you singing a Whitney Houston song. But what you say in the post is that you're having a Jimmy Riddle in a portaloo. So I need a translation of what having a Jimmy Riddle in a portaloo is.
Well, for a little bit of perspective, we were at a concert last night for my daughter's birthday. It was like a girl power open air concert, and they had a few different acts on. They had Pixie Lott. They had one of the UK contestants from the X Factor, and they had another woman who was from a girl band called Steps, Steps, S Club 7. And I'd gone to the we call it a portaloo, and she was singing a Whitney Houston song, and a Jimmy Riddle. I don't know whether it's Cockney rhyme and slang, but it's something we see used in the army. Jimmy Riddle is a piddle. I'm going for a Jimmy Riddle. So I was having a Jimmy Riddle in the portaloo while a member of S Club 7 was singing a Whitney Houston song. It was a little bit surreal. So, yeah.
Oh, the joys of being a father. Okay, well, thank you. Now that clarifies it for me. Now I feel a little more oriented. Thank you. I needed some context.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anytime, Todd. Anytime. Right, we'll get into it. So. Obviously, this is a mental health podcast. We don't sort of pigeonhole ourselves into talking purely about mental health, but that's the main topic of this podcast. And obviously, we've got Brandon on today. So, Brandon, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what your personal mental health journey's been like? Have you suffered? Have you come across many people that have? Let's have the bones out of it.
All right. So, as you guys already know, my name is Brandon. I've been wet shaving for, 7-8 years, something like that. And I do have a mental health history. I've had anxiety for, many years now. And medication has never been very effective for me. I know certainly it works for some people, but it was never something that worked for me. So I kind of have had to find, different ways to control my anxiety, find different ways to relax, whether it's, taking 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, and just close my eyes and take deep breaths and try to just clear my mind, or whatever it is. There are many different little tactics that I use. And wet shaving is one of those things that has been wonderful for me. It's kind of it's a way to clear my mind, yet still being mindful on the shave that I have. However, it's a good way for me to put everything else away, no matter how stressed I am, no matter how anxious I've been over, the things of the day, the week, the year, whatever. It's a way for me to just put those things away, and just concentrate on doing something that makes me happy.
Did that the issues with anxiety, did that start like early on, like in childhood, or was it later in adult life? When did you first start having issues with anxiety?
So in about my mid-20s was when it came up. I have had ADHD basically all of my life, but I was never medicated as a child because my grades were great. So, they never thought they didn't want to go down that road.
Right.
So, I've always had that attention problem, which probably, kind of brings up the stress and the anxiety as well. So I think maybe they're kind of all intertwined together.
Yeah, I have adult ADD, and I was never diagnosed as a child because I don't have the hyperactive type. I just have the inattentive type. So, as we were talking about, being the kids of school teachers, it's the squeaky wheels get the grease. So the kid who's bouncing off the walls, they're definitely going to identify. But the kid who's making it grade wise, like squeaking by, but is just having a hard time, paying attention. And those you can, for me personally, I was able to squeak through school with that kind of issue. But when it came to the work world, when I got out and had a job and I had to really challenge my ability to pay attention, that's when I started to, have some struggles with anxiety and depression because the job was just kicking my butt, and I was able to do school. But when I got into doing a really difficult job as a social worker, it was tough. And that's when I was first diagnosed. So that's, I think a lot of people have had that type of experience.
It seems like once you add that stress factor in, things kind of take a turn.
Yeah.
Is ADHD and ADD, is it quite a big thing in the US? Because in the UK, I think we're still quite far behind some countries in terms of what we do, or not what we do, or how we identify mental health. I think in the UK, a lot of people still associate mental health issues with depression and suicide, and they are massive issues. But the whole ADHD and ADD and I don't know what are they classed as a certain thing, Todd. But is it a big thing in the US?
Well, it just depends on who you ask and what sort of circles you run in. I mean, there's some people that are real skeptical about ADD, that they feel like it's overdiagnosed. And I think they're certainly in young children, it probably has been overdiagnosed and over treated, like over medicated, because some of that we see in kids is just developmentally appropriate. Like when you're a 5-year-old, you're not supposed to pay attention. That's kind of like part of what that comes with the job description, And so I think that there's been some of an overreaction to, particularly within kids, and maybe an underreaction or underdiagnosis in adults, because a lot of people would look at ADD symptoms as laziness, or a lot of people don't understand ADD because folks with ADD are able to hyper focus on things they're really interested in. Like we can lock in on stuff that interests us, but the stuff that's tedious, that requires us to really put forth effort, we tend not to focus on as much. So it's becoming I think more accurately diagnosed in the US than ever before. Part of what we understand now about ADD is that it's probably on the continuum of like the autism spectrum disorder. It's probably like on the high functioning end of the autism spectrum disorder. So it's sort of a form of that. And yeah, it's one of those things that you if you've dealt with it, like you really have an understanding for other people who've dealt with it, but it's difficult to understand to others. And it's primarily a executive functioning disorder, which means that like you have a really hard time, obviously, keeping your focus on something, but you also tend to have a bad concept of time. Like your concept of how long something takes is not really very accurate. You have a real hard time working towards long-term goals and sort of staying organized and things like that. So it's difficult, but as One of the famous psychiatrists that works around this have said, and I think I may have said this on the show before, is, there's nothing wrong with the brains of people who have ADD. They have Ferrari brains, like Ferrari sports car brains. They just have bicycle brakes, and so it's hard for us to shift and change things, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's becoming more accurately diagnosed is the best way I could describe it. But it has been overdiagnosed, I think, some in kids historically.
Yeah, because I mean, anxiety specifically isn't really, I wouldn't say it's not spoken about in the UK. It's spoken about, but people don't consider it as being a mental health condition. It's people just think, oh, I don't like going out into busy places, or I don't like going out when it's raining or something like that. It's never really considered. So I think we've got a lot to do in the UK in terms of identifying different areas that people are suffering with.
You think it's all part of that, like that British stiff upper lip thing, like the like toughen up, like just.
Oh, really? I mean, certainly in the male environment, it's probably just a male thing. You know what I mean? Like we spoke about before, the stigmatism, people. Yeah, but it is becoming more of a. I don't even want to say acceptable, because it's not. That's not the right term to use, but more. What's the word? Appreciated, that actually what somebody's suffering with, it's not just they don't want to go out or they don't want to go to work, and it may not be depression. It just might be anxiety of having to go to work, or but being in a job that you don't like causes anxiety. You know what I mean? I've been there myself. And people need to just appreciate that fact that it's just not easy to get yourself up and going. It's not always depression, it's just your situation. So I think there's quite a bit to do, certainly in the UK, around that side of things.
Yeah. I think it's important to stress too that anxiety is not always a disorder necessarily. It's not always something that needs to be treated medically. Sometimes it's just learning how to manage the anxiety you do face. And you don't even have to have anything extraordinary going on. Just the demands of, like we heard when we were talking with John from Latherhog about, just raising, young kids, or when you combine like the responsibility of being a husband, a father, and, a job, and, all the things that we take care of and think about, all that can become, quite a load at times, particularly when things are sort of out of balance at a given time in our lives, or a particular time of the year or whatever. So yeah, it can definitely be a challenge. Brandon, did your anxiety ever get to the level of where you ever had any panic attacks? Have you ever experienced a panic attack?
No, I've never had anything like that. I mean, obviously I've had times where I needed to just remove myself from wherever it is, whether it's, a spot in work, or, getting away from the wife and kids or whatever, and just backing off. It took me a long time to understand what I needed to do with anxiety, because it is very easy to just get mad and yell at everyone, and then that gets them out of the way, and then you kind of deal with it. That's not the way to do it. It took a while for me to understand what I needed to do, and what these feelings were, and what I needed to do to control them. And I found now I know when I need to remove myself. And someone may say, don't walk away, and I don't say anything back, but you need to remove yourself, because you can't unsay things. You can't undo things.
Right.
So you have to find a way to healthily get out of the situation, give yourself time to process things and relax, and then go back in with a clear head.
Yeah, I think that's something that we need to make more, I guess popular or common in our culture, is like the giving each other permission to take 5, just to say, hey, could you just give me, like, I want to continue this conversation, but I need like 5 minutes, I think that's, at least the people that you're close to, negotiating that kind of agreement to say, hey, there's times when I'm just going to need to call a timeout. I want to come right back and, continue the conversation, but I just need a minute. And that's huge, because it helps you to get in a place where you can actually be present in the conversation, and not be fueled by all the emotion that's there. And that's hard. That's tough. So you mentioned work. We were talking about that, and we talked about this a little bit with Mel. But so working at a hospital. So you're a dietitian. Is that your official title? Clinical
dietitian. Yeah, in a hospital. Yeah.
And you work at a hospital. So during the COVID pandemic, I mean, I guess it's officially been declared as over, although it's out there now. We have monkeypox hanging around and all kinds of stuff going on. But at the height of the pandemic, was that stressful for you and your role at the hospital?
Incredibly. I mean, for people that work in a hospital, you don't always have great outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
But you tend to have more good stories than you have bad stories. Well, when you put something like COVID on there, you start having a lot more bad stories.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy to let those go. As a healthcare worker, you try to be able to put those things out of your mind and move on. And it's easier when it's on a smaller percentage of people that you're having bad outcomes with. But when those ramp up and everyone else starts getting stressed out as well, it takes a toll on you. It definitely has been a lot more stressful during this time. And just trying to put those things away before you go home and deal with your family, because you have your work life and you have your personal life. And it's very hard when you're getting these extreme outcomes at work to not take those home with you. So absolutely, it has been a lot more stressful during the COVID time, and it's still not over. I mean, we still have more COVID admissions now with the new variants. I hope it ends.
Mm-hmm. Do you get involved with the COVID side of things then, Brandon? Is that something you get involved in, or?
Well, I mean, I don't physically go into the rooms of the people that have COVID, just because, you're trying to curb transmission. So but I do still talk to these people on the phone, and all of these people with COVID, there's a ton of the people on ventilators. So I'm doing tube feedings for those kind of people. And, unfortunately, I spent a lot more time calculating tube feeding rates than actually talking to people about their health. Mm-hmm. So not necessarily a positive there.
Yeah, I would, think when people think dietitian, they're thinking, oh, well, Brandon's down in the cafeteria telling them, oh, well, John in room 205, he just had, heart surgery and he doesn't need bacon. So, but, when you talk about, feeding tubes, and as I heard you talk about the other night on one of the lives on Instagram, is tailoring, food for people that might have digestion issues like blockages, et cetera. And obviously when you get the feeding tube, things are not looking good for people. They've had strokes, or they're on a ventilator and they can't, eat orally. And so, yeah, I imagine that's, it's not just deciding who gets red meat or whatever. It's like, it's a lot of stuff, right? It's a lot of stuff.
People don't really think about it being a medical degree. But it is, I'm feeding people directly into the bloodstream, or feeding them through a tube in the nose, a tube in the belly, whatever, for, maybe people with head and neck cancers, and something in the esophagus where it doesn't work anymore. You need to make a port somewhere else to go into the stomach, and you have to feed in that way. So, I mean, there's a lot of medical stuff related to it. I'm not the lunch lady.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. To be fair, that's what I associate a dietitian or a nutritionist, because I've got celiac disease, and I'm meant to see a dietitian every year along with the consultant. But yeah, to be honest, I didn't even consider that side of the sort of role. So yeah, it's interesting to put that spin on it. But so. You've already spoken about the wet shaving and how that helps with your mental health and helps you to relax. Is there anything else that helps you deal with your stress or anxiety? I know a lot of people try meditation. I've tried it a couple of times and never really. I can't remember the app, but there's an app where you can have like 3 courses, and I think I've only ever got to like the second one. And but I mean, to be honest, I can see the benefits of it, and if you can stick to it, what are some of the things you do to help chill out?
So for me, being that I have ADHD, meditation doesn't work very well for me because I can't stay on task of not being on task that long, if that makes sense. So for me, it usually is it usually has something to do with music. A huge music lover, and that tends to kind of take me away from things. And then some deep breathing. For me, it has to be like a minute or 2 minutes tops. Then I need to go do something else, and then I can go back to it again. I just can't concentrate for that long at a time. So deep breathing and music, those are two great things for me.
Yeah, music is a good tool, but it's a good one to have in the locker. I find music helps, and even when I'm having a shave, it's nice to put on some music that's just chill. If I'm trying to concentrate at work, because I work from home quite a lot at the minute, and there's always too many distractions, music helps. And I know a lot of surgeons, they listen to, or I don't know whether it's a common misconception that they listen to music. I know they have it on certain programs that the surgeons listening to classical music. I don't know whether they actually do or not, but it helps in a lot of situations. So yeah, music's a big one.
Yeah, it helps. That helps a lot. I use it a lot myself for a variety of things, and particularly to help focus. I use a technique called the Pomodoro technique that helps a lot with people with ADD. It's where you set a timer when you're trying to do focus work for like 25 minutes, and then you get a 5-minute break. And so I use music a lot there. It has to be music though for me, like when I'm trying to focus, at least it has to be music that is either instrumental or doesn't have English language in it. If it's another language, so in other words, it can't have lyrics that will get in my head, because then I can't, complete the sentence I'm trying to write or whatever, it might be. But yeah, music's definitely a thing there. And breathing, yeah, is most definitely. I think one of the greatest things that has happened is like what we have now in our watches, like just the things that will have you do, breathing for like a minute and a half is really cool. Like that helps, quite a bit, I think. So. Well, you mentioned earlier, as Andy said, that wet shaving has benefited your mental health. Is there a particular like technique or a piece of hardware, a piece of software, or anything you do? In other words, I guess if you had to structure your ideal like mental health shave, like what's that look like for you?
For me, it kind of depends on what I'm looking for. If I'm looking to just get away from everything and just completely relax, it's probably a milder razor, a milder blade, something that's almost mindless, something that's not really technique heavy or anything like that. So that's my relax that way. And then
so not that hyper aggressive Sterling you used recently.
No, definitely not. Now, and see that brings me into my other point. If I want something where I'm looking to focus on what I'm doing now in order to get rid of everything that's been going on, everything that's been on in my life, then I want something where I can focus like this, keep everything else out. Then I'm going straight razor, something really efficient as far as razor wise.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of my 2-prong approach there. And both of them fit their own niche.
That's absolutely brilliant what you just said. I mean, there's times that you need to just not think about anything, right? And maybe you're at a point where you can, because there's not so much, but sometimes you need a distraction, like you need to be distracted. And so to be distracted, you almost need to be focused on something else. And so it's like throwing that part of your brain like a bone or a banana and saying, hey, like mess with this. And so your brain's like, do not cut off your ear. Don't Van Gogh this thing, let's not remove our nose or whatever. And then, and so you can't help but think about, shaving. That's brilliant.
It reminds me of the guy from Rogue One, the guy that's blind that
cheer it one way. Mm-hmm.
That's it. But then maybe if you want to like hyper focus, you need to get a blindfold on and get the R41 out and just do it all by touch. I don't think it'd end too well for me, if I'm honest, but it's one way to definitely focus.
I think we need to bring the tag videos back in the wet tuber community. I think everybody got to hating on tags, but it produced some fun videos, those blindfold videos, the shaving in the dark videos. And so now we need a calm shave tag and a focus shave tag. I think that's what needs to happen. So
we need to introduce animals to it. People's fears.
Why not?
People's fears. Yeah. I'm going to tag somebody to shave in a room full of spiders or something.
Yeah. It's so much with the one chip challenge. How about you take that badger and then you add another badger, like a real badger in the in the bathroom
badger
with you. That's right. A honey badger while you use your, B3 from Declaration or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
We're on to something.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one that, and I have to credit Todd with this little addition to the podcast. There's a few different areas that we like to discuss with people on their biggest challenges and tips for dealing with those sort of challenges. And I don't suppose marriage should be really classed as a challenge, should it? But what do you have, or can you share some tips that you have for dealing with there's marriage, parenting, work-life balance, and being a content creator. So we'll start with marriage. I'm assuming you're married, Brandon?
I am.
I am. How long have you been married for?
Be 15th anniversary will be September the 1st.
Well,
so
wow,
we're getting up there.
Nice. So what are your tips for people that are, I don't know, maybe not long married, or people that have been married for several years? You've got any tips for making a successful marriage?
The only thing that I can say is that you need to love your partner more than you love yourself. And that sounds like it may be an easy concept, but there are a lot of times that there may be something that I want, but I defer that because, what I don't get might be better for my wife or something, and learn how to argue with your spouse, your significant other. It is a very hard thing to do because it's very easy to just think in your own brain and go, whatever you think is not valid, I don't care. These are my problems, so we should listen to my problems. It's not that way. I mean, you're in it forever. So you need to learn how to argue. You need to learn how to argue without screaming at each other, without trying to break the other person down. So love your spouse more than yourself. Learn how to argue when it's time.
Yeah, I would just insert there real quick. I think even that take the 5-minute thing helps sometimes when you're having arguments or disagreements or creative discussions, whatever you want to call them, with your spouse, is like having that understanding between the two of you of like, sometimes, hey, I just need to take a time out. I need to walk this off for a little bit and then I'll come back. It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, back to you can't unsay anything. You can't undo anything.
And by the way, Brandon's wife is becoming like a social media star herself. She's basically coming in and taking over Brandon's lives because, let's face it, once she hops on, he's just a dull bore, and
That's
everybody
right.
wants to talk to her.
That's right. No one wants to see me anymore.
Oh, nice. Oh, they're good tips. To be honest, they're good tips. What about parenting then? Have you got any top tips for parenting?
Parenting. Does anyone know how to parent?
No.
I mean, really? Does
Nope.
anyone know? We're all just going by the skin of our teeth trying to figure out what to do. With children, the only thing I can say is, once again, think about what you're going to say before you do. Don't say anything demeaning to your child. I know it's so easy to go, you're such a brat, or you're being absolutely terrible right now, or something like that. But, as a child, having those words come to you you may not be totally serious. You may be kind of joking in it, but they're not going to take it that way. Right. All they hear are the words that come out of your mouth. So be very cognizant in what you're saying. Don't break your children down. Try to find a different way to bring them up, which is not easy. It is not easy. It would be easier to go, get out of here.
It's one of those things where there is no rule book. You're right in what you're saying. Do any of us really know how to do it? That people can write books as much as they want and claim to be experts on parenting, but every child's different. And my 3 kids, all 3 of those are different. You know what I mean? Even though they're from the same parents, and it's just not. It's one of the probably things that I've found most difficult from being a parent is trying to bring them up with the best intentions, but have that balance of not, like you say, saying anything demeaning or losing your temper. And I'm not very good at it, I have to admit. But they learn from you, and my wife always says it's learned behavior. And I mean, you're the ones that they learn from to start with. And if you're losing your temper with them all the time and you're shouting, they think that's the right thing to do, or the correct thing to do. So it's a difficult game to play, is having children. By being in the army, I always used to say to some of the junior ranks, yeah, it's just a big game. Or anybody that's going into the military, it's just a big game. You need to learn how to play it, you know what I mean? And if you're getting told to do something, you might not like it, but just do it, because it's just part of the game. And it's same with parenting. If you might like their children, they don't know any better, you know, they can't necessarily control their temper or their emotions as well as adults sometimes can. So you've got to kind of put yourself in their mind frame a little bit and try and see it from their perspective and why they're getting upset or annoyed. And yeah, I can sit here and say it, but I'm not particularly very good at it. But yeah, it's difficult. Parenting is difficult. What about work-life balance then? And I think this is another difficult one for especially males, is leaving work at work and having your home life. Like we were just watching the movie Hook earlier with Robin Williams, and he's very not really career minded, but he's trying to get this big deal over the line at the start of the movie, and then they go to London and his wife's like, yeah, the kids just want you to be like their dad, and you promised you'd spend some quality time with them. Have you got any? And I think finding the right company is a big one that helps the work-life balance. I know certainly in my last job, it was terrible that I didn't have any work-life balance, whereas the job I'm in now, I have a lot more freedom to do my job and trust to do it, you know what I mean? And there's no expectations for you to work like past your hours. But what are some of the things that you do for your work-life balance? How do you leave work at work?
That is an extremely difficult one for me. And, you know, working in a hospital, you may get called in to work at any time on your time off. I've been called in on my vacation before. But, you know, that's kind of what you sign up for when you sign up to be a healthcare worker. It is very difficult to leave what you do at work, but you owe it to your family to do that. You know, it's one thing that, yes, you know, as your own person, need to leave stuff at work, but you know, you've got a family that you have to take care of also, and it's not fair to them to not be able to dedicate yourself to them. So once again, a lot of times it's music. A lot of times it is when I pull into the driveway, if the kids aren't already running out the door to see me saying daddy, I may sit there and listen to a song or two just to kind of, you know, put the other things away and get ready for my next job, my next duty.
Yeah, it is. That's another good point. Being a parent is almost having a second job, isn't it?
It is a much more important one.
True, very true. Right, last one then. Being a content creator, being a YouTuber, have you got any tips for people with the challenges of YouTube? So I think when you get to a certain amount of subscribers, you feel a pressure to put videos out 2-3 times a week and constantly putting videos out. Have you got any tips for anybody that might be thinking of making, not necessarily just a wet shaving channel, but a YouTube channel in general?
My tip is to only do what you enjoy. And if you don't enjoy it anymore, then don't do it. And if you're doing it just to get subscribers, then don't do it. I can't imagine that, you know, doing wet shaving, that you're going to become a millionaire from the ad money that you're getting from YouTube. Do it because you enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy doing the shave. I enjoy talking to myself. I enjoy making fun of myself, poking fun at myself. And so I enjoy what I do. I'm at 600 and something subscribers over, I think, 2 years or 2.5 years or something like that. So, you know, it's not like my channel is growing exponentially, but I don't care. I mean, I do it for fun. I don't create content on any schedule. I may get 1 shave in a week. I may get 2 shaves in a week. I may go without getting one done for the week. You know, I don't try to just feed you a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just showing you what my life is like when I'm in that bathroom right there shaving. And that's it. You know, it's something that I enjoy. I hope that I can make you smile when I do this. You know, that's the whole thing that I'm doing. I love to poke fun at myself. I love to make you laugh. I love to make you smile the same way that I feel at work. So, you know, I feel like if you can do that, you can enjoy it and keep doing it. If it's something that you feel like is work, don't do it. You already have a work.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
tips,
I
good
would
tips.
remind our fellow content creators that Ken Sir still has a day job. Chris Bailey still has a day job. Like nobody, you know, Paul H is still delivering mail as is Kevy Shaves. And, nobody's quit their day job because their YouTube channel about wet shaving's been so successful. So yeah, we definitely need to keep that in mind. So one other serious question before we get into the trivia quiz, which I'm going to torture you and Andy with, but you're a registered or clinical dietitian, and so how does nutrition relate, at least in your mind, to mental health? Have you noticed anything there in your own life, or things that you know through your own professional experience and training? And why should I eat more cheesecake?
Well, we'll start with the latter first. You
Okay.
should always eat more cheesecake.
Okay, great.
Because it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Sorry, that got me so much. What was the first part of the question?
Yeah. So nutrition and mental health, like have you noticed anything personally or either professionally about foods to stay away from, foods that, you like eat more of? Is there anything that you do in your own life, nutrition wise, related to mental health?
For me, it is about trying to strike that balance between eating for health and eating for recreation. And they are two totally different things.
Right.
My take on that is moderation. Moderation, number one, if you're eating something that you're not supposed to and you feel a certain way about that, then obviously that affects your mental health. So for me, it is try and eat better most of the time, but it's okay to eat what you want. It is okay if you have this big craving, do it. Eat what you need to, and then step back and go back to what you should be doing on a daily basis. I think a lot of people get bogged down by body dysmorphia. I'm fat. Is the big one, and people, well, I can't eat this, and then they hold back for so long that finally they just can't handle the craving anymore, and then they just go eat, eat, and then feel horrible about themselves again. So you've got this perpetual terrible cycle of doing things that you feel are wrong to yourself and then feeling bad about it. So my nutrition versus mental health is be good most of the time, but you don't always have to be good.
Very good. Yeah, very good. So you can say I can eat cheesecake, but maybe once a week. That's what you're saying.
You can.
Yeah.
I was thinking like once an hour, but I mean, if you want to go once
a
week, yes.
All right. Okay. And a piece is actually a portion. You can't eat the whole thing. Doesn't count, is it? Like that's yeah.
Well, it depends if you call that a piece.
Well, that's true.
Or a portion, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. How you divide it.
A portion is one cake.
There you go. Okay, well, we get to shift gears here now to the fun part of each episode, which is the, as Andy calls it there in the UK, a quiz, which to me throws me into anxiety because I'm thinking I'm about to be, I'm having to take out a pencil and answer 10 questions that my teacher, I was supposed to do some reading or something, what we here in the US would call trivia. So I've, since, Brandon is a clinical dietitian, I have formulated a food-oriented 10 question quiz.
Okay.
So you could either get something to write with, so you can write your answers down, or put them in your phone, or whatever you need to do to record your answers here, because I'll go through all 10 questions and then we'll come back and reveal the answers. So number one, in the film Pulp Fiction, Vincent Vega tells us that a quarter pounder with cheese is called what in France? In the film Pulp Fiction, Vincent Vega tells us that a quarter pounder with cheese is called what in France?
I haven't seen that in a really
John
long
Travolta.
time.
He's having a conversation with Samuel L. Jackson's character. All right, number two, what food item is famously served at a breakfast at Wimbledon? What food item is famously served at a breakfast at Wimbledon?
You're hurting me, Todd.
Okay,
I'm feeling anxious right now.
Number three, what Spice Girl did David Beckham marry? I need her Spice name. Like what's her spice name?
Oh.
Oh no, I know her real name.
Okay, so I've got a visual one here. Let me see if I can pull this off. So let me do a share. This should work. This should work. Can you guys see that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What company makes both this bottle of ketchup and this can of beans? What company makes both this bottle of ketchup and this can of beans? All right.
I've got a little nugget of information for that on the ketchup bottle.
Uh-huh.
There's the number. I can't remember what it is, 5 or whatever it is.
Yep.
That's where when you turn it upside down, it doesn't come out. That's where you're supposed to tap it.
Oh, on
and
the number.
And it comes out on the number. Yeah, on the number. I guess it only works on the glass bottles, but
yeah, that number you're thinking of is almost a giveaway for the company here in the U.S. So
Yeah.
hold that number for a second. So it's number 5. In a post-credit scene in the first Avengers film, the heroes can be seen eating what food? It's a post-credit scene in the first Avengers film. All of our heroes are gathered together in a restaurant. What are they eating? All right, music buffs. Number 6, according to legend, if you play this Beatles song backwards, you discover a clue that the real Paul McCartney might actually be dead. If you play this Beatles songs backwards, you might uncover a clue that the real Paul McCartney might actually be dead. I thought everybody knew. Weren't you born in 72, Brandon, somewhere
I
around there?
was.
Okay, come on. See, I thought I need to start trying these out on, other people or something beforehand. Maybe I'm being too sadistic here. It's probably the professor in me coming out. All right, number 7 in the video game Portal. Either one of you ever played Portal? The game Portal? Okay. Gladys, which is the computer that's talking to you all the time, she promises that you'll be served this food item at the end of the experiment, but you later discover that it is a lie. Gladys promises you'll be served this at the end of the experiment, but you later discover that it was a lie. All right. Number 8. In one of his hit songs, Harry Styles proclaims he doesn't know if he could ever go without this type of high. In one of his songs, Harry Styles proclaims he doesn't know if he could ever go without this type of high.
I only know this because they sang a cover of it on the concert yesterday. So
when you were not in the Portaloo.
When I wasn't in the Portaloo, yeah. Okay. I think it was the song before the Portaloo song.
Okay. All right. Number 9. What is the primary ingredient in hummus? What is the primary ingredient in hummus? And I looked it up and found out that hummus it's a popular thing in the UK as well. Just making sure that it was an internationally known thing. All right. Number 10. At the end of the 1984 original Ghostbusters film, a giant man named Stay Puft, who is dressed as a sailor, terrorizes New York City. What is he made of? What is Stay Puft made of?
I reckon I've done all right, Brandon. Not to put any pressure on you. Oh, there's a couple that I've had to guess, but I think I've done all right on this.
I think I might have gotten 2.
All right. So somebody is mowing their lawn right outside my window very loudly. Maybe they'll mow mine while they're at it. All right. Hopefully you can't hear it on the podcast. So number 1, Pulp Fiction. What's Vinny Vega call a quarter pounder with cheese? Brandon, you're our guest. What's your answer there?
Fat burger.
Fat burger. Andy?
No idea, but that sounds right.
Royale with cheese. Royale with cheese. Yeah. All right. Number 2, Andy, what food item is famously served at breakfast at Wimbledon?
Well, I unless it's something I don't know of, and I'm not sure it's famous for being served as breakfast, but is it strawberries and cream?
Strawberries and cream is the answer. Brandon, what did you put down for that?
I got a scone.
A scone. Well, I'm sure that's there too, but that's not the answer we're looking for. All right, Brandon, number 3, what Spice Girl did David Beckham marry?
What's Victoria? Is it Sporty Spice?
Ooh,
that was Mel C.
Yeah, Andy, so I take it you know it?
Yeah, Posh Spice.
That's Posh Spice.
Posh Spice.
And that leaves what? Ginger and Scary? Is that the other?
Ginger and Scary. Oh, Ginger, Scary, and Baby.
Baby Spice. There we go. There we go. All right. But there is a sporty, isn't there? Isn't there a
Yeah,
sporty
there
in
is
there
sport.
too?
Yeah, it's Melanie C. Her name is a real
Oh,
name.
that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
That's right.
right.
All right. So
Melanie Chisholm, I think, is her full name.
okay. So 2-0 so far. So Andy, number 4, this can of beans and this bottle of ketchup are both made by what company?
Heinz.
Brandon?
Yes, sir. Heinz.
Heinz, yeah. So here in the U.S., we have a steak sauce that's real common called Heinz 57.
57.
Yeah, and so that 57, you're exactly right. You hit that right on the neck of the bottle. Supposedly that was their 57th sauce, and that's why they call it the Heinz 57. They had 57 different sauces or whatever. So, but that's the beans, right? In the UK,
Heinz,
Andy?
yeah.
Heinz,
If it's not Heinz, it's not beans.
And do you
beans,
eat yours?
Beans means Heinz, is what they say.
So backup question I had here is apparently that in Maine, that it's real common for churches to have baked bean suppers on Friday nights or Saturday nights. Is that a thing?
Yeah, whole beans.
Bean whole beans. That's right. Yeah, that's what I read about. And
Dig a hole in the ground and build a fire in the hole in the ground, and then put you a big cast iron pot on the top of it, and then cover it up.
And Andy, you
cover it a few hours later.
A proper British breakfast, would you have the beans on toast? Yes.
Beans on toast, or another delicacy is cheesy beans on toast. Oof.
Oh.
Yeah, you've never lived until you've had cheesy beans on toast.
Have to find out about that. I need to know more about this. All right, number 5, in a post-credit scene in the first Avengers film, the heroes can be seen eating what food? Brandon?
What is Brussels sprouts?
Andy?
This was a guess. I went with pizza.
Shawarma. They're eating shawarma at the end of that film. Middle Eastern sandwiches, shaved meat sandwiches. Fun fact, I hated Brussels sprouts as a kid. I thought that they were awful. Now I love them. But that's because I had to eat them boiled. I was forced to eat them boiled as a kid, and now I roast the crap out of them in the oven at about 450 Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Better.
Yeah, number 6. According to legend, if you play this Beatles song backwards, you discover a clue that the real Paul McCartney might actually be dead. Andy?
This is the only Beatles song I can think of that is food related. Is it Strawberry Fields Forever?
Brandon?
I've got A Hard Day's Night.
It is, in fact, Strawberry Fields Forever. It is. Yeah. All right. So 3-1, I think is right. Number 7 in the video game Portal, Gladys promises what will be served at the end of the experiment? Brandon?
Steak.
Andy?
This is a guess. I went ice cream.
Cake. The cake is a lie. That is the tagline for the Portal video game. Sorry, I know these are tough. Andy, number 8, in one of his hit songs, Harry Styles proclaims he doesn't know if he could ever go without this type of high.
Watermelon.
Brandon?
Watermelon sugar.
No.
I'm giving Brandon a full point. Andy, I'm giving you a half point.
Watermelon sugar.
It's 2, okay. What, 3.5 to 2? Is that right?
2,
yeah, 3.5 to
4.5.
Okay, 4.5 to 2. Number 9, Brandon. What is the primary?
Just hold the.
It is. It's watermelon sugar high.
Let me check.
Andy, my daughter's 18 years old. Trust me. It's watermelon sugar high.
Okay.
Trust
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. If I was losing, it'd be you can have that.
Oh, now he's flexing over here. He's flexing. He's flexing.
Here we go.
All right, number 9, Brandon. What is the primary ingredient in hummus?
Which word would you like? Would you like garbanzo beans?
Either one. I'll take either one of those names. I'll take either ones. Yeah. Andy?
Yeah, chickpeas.
Chickpeas. Yeah. Yep. Love some hummus. All right, Andy, number 10. At the end of the 1984 original Ghostbusters film, a giant man named Stay Puft, who was dressed as a sailor, terrorized New York City. What is he made of?
Well, I know him as Marshmallow Man, so it must be Marshmallow.
Yeah, Marshmallow is a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah. Which was also my nickname when I played basketball. We won't go into that. It had something to do with the way I took up the lane.
I don't know if you guys have Dunlop tires in the US, but there was I think the original Dunlop character was like the I don't know if he was like modeled on Stay Puft or whatever. But
yeah. And we did also have the Pillsbury Doughboy here in the
That's
U.S. I
it,
don't know if you have, yeah, they're
very
similar. Both, yeah, I may resemble those characters. So I know we're over a time here, but I just had to throw a couple other ones here that I took out because I thought that they were too tricky. But after this, I don't know. So in Maine, there's this treat that consists of shortening base filled between a soft spongy disc of chocolate cake. Those are called something cakes. You ever heard of those, Andy? I had not heard of them until I looked them up.
I don't know.
Brandon,
that would be called a whoopie pie.
A whoopie pie.
No, no, I've heard of what?
That's
Yeah, I've heard
interesting.
of a whoopie pie.
Yeah. That's the only one I'll go with. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was pretty fascinating. All right. Well, congratulations, Andy. You win absolutely nothing other than bragging rights. I'm sure we'll have Brandon back at some point for round 2. He can challenge you again.
Got you next time.
So, and you can look up later to see, in fact, that it is watermelon sugar.
It's not.
Let us know at home how you did on the quiz. Put that in the comments.
Probably better than me.
Oh, I don't know. It was quite tricky, that one. Some of those.
Sorry, I tried to make it easy.
No, some of them were, but you know what I mean. I wouldn't have known the Pulp Fiction one and the Portal one. Like, they're just not something I would ever remember. But the other ones, kind of, yeah.
Well, it's a function of my ADD. I get too engrossed and stuff.
It's this sort of stupid stuff that I retain information on. But
I know.
Right. Well, there we go. So that brings us to the end of another episode 13. So yeah, Brandon, it's been a pleasure having you on. If you want to find Brandon on social media, you can find him over at YouTube, which is Brandon Shaves. And then on IG, Instagram, he's again, Brandon_Shaves. So yeah, feel free to go and follow Brandon over there. Don't forget the giveaways. We've obviously got the Crown and Cane $20 gift card and the Razor Company gift card for the US and Canada. Is it Canada, Todd, as well?
Yes.
Or is it? Yes, yeah, US and Canada.
Because they just would pay the shipping themselves or whatever,
Yeah, cool. And then obviously in the UK, in the rest of the world, I'll chuck in the HNC stuff that was donated to the podcast. All you have to do is comment "I'm in" anywhere on the social media that you see the podcast drop. So Instagram, YouTube. When I eventually pull my finger out and get the episodes uploaded onto Podbean and iTunes, they'll be on there. If you haven't already, when you comment, just let us know where you live in the world so that we can include you. And also for listeners of the podcast, you can save 15% over Apocalypse Grooming. Get in there while you can, because the stock isn't necessarily going to be there for long. All you have to do is use the code Take Care at the checkout, and you'll save 15% on your full order. Todd, do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So as always, you can find show notes over at takecareman.com. So links to Brandon's YouTube channel, IG account, links to Harry Styles lyrics, links to a recipe for cheesy beans. Might be
cheesy
there
beans on toast
in the show notes. You don't know, so check those out. Also resources for getting help for mental health issues, or just a way to connect with a bunch of guys on the Discord group. Go over there and click on group, but also you can click on help to find out information about getting help for mental health issues. And here recently in the US, just like we have 911 where you can call for emergency services, you can now call 988 in the US, which gets you the suicide crisis line. So glad that our politicians got that done. That's really cool. Our t-shirts, you can get a podcast t-shirt in the store, also a couple other men's mental health shirts. There's one I'll throw it in here that I've made that I'm kind of proud of. It's called the Mental Health Shaving Society shirt, and it's got like retro shaving gear on it. I'll put a picture of it in the video podcast. And then always you can support the show over at takecareman.com/donate. So we appreciate you supporting the show.
Cool. Right. Thanks everybody for listening. Brandon, thanks again for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your day and have a good week next week. And we'll catch up with you guys soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. It's been great. See you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.